Hey guys, so the other night I saw Spider-Man No Way Home, and I just want to do a quick rant video sort of talking about what I thought of the film. Um, and I don't really know if I liked the film. I think I did, but there was a few reasons why, and I just want to get into that. So basically, when I went, the theater was full. The general audience seemed to really like the film. All the jokes seemed to land really well. Um, I didn't find any of the jokes particularly funny. It's more of that Marvel humor where nothing's taken seriously, everything's a joke, which I'm not a fan of, but apparently the audience is. Um, but I'm sure you're all wondering. This is a spoiler video, by the way. Um, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are both in the film, and I think they did a lot of the heavy lifting as far as um, the nostalgia of the whole movie. So like you're kind of watching it, and like I found the first act of the film to be quite kind of chaotic. It didn't really. I found it kind of. So basically, everyone's like freaking out because they find out who Peter Parker is, and he wants to go to Doctor Strange and make it so that everyone forgets who he is, and it just felt really like contrived. It didn't. None of it felt really real. It just felt like one big setup to get villains from the previous films and Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield into the film. That was the main reason. It felt like a way to kind of nostalgia bait, basically, which like yes, it did kind of work. Like that's the only reason I went to see it was to see Tobey Maguire again, and it was cool. Like it definitely was cool. They were like it was the same Spider-Man. Like it didn't seem like he'd been out of the films for so long. Um, but if you can kind of, I think a lot of people are going to have trouble getting past that kind of get past the nostalgia of seeing them again, and it's really hard to separate that from the movie as a whole. It felt like if, it's very difficult. Like for instance, you had Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin, and Willem Dafoe's always great. But as far as him in the movie, yes, he was great, but the movie wasn't great because of the movie. It was great because you remember what he was like in Spider-Man 1. So it was, yeah, it was relying heavily on nostalgia. There was a lot of like meme value, like the whole I'm something of a scientist myself. He says that, and it definitely just feels like they're just doing it like real fan servicey. And it depends how you view that kind of thing. To me, it did feel like I don't know. It felt like I don't know, just a way to sell tickets, basically, and it worked. Um, but like as far as being a movie on its own, I thought the plot was particularly video gamey. So it felt like in like Spider-Man video games where they have to put all the villains in, and then you've got to like kind of fight them one by one, and there's not really any satisfying arc to each villain. It's just kind of like they're just there, and they're there for like 5 minutes just for something to do in the level. This felt like that, so it was like there was like a bit where um he ends up just it was just like the recent Spider-Man game that came out where they all sort of fight him and beat him, and then he has to kind of like get his shit together and then beat them again himself, but this time with the help of other Spider-Men. Um, Actually, it makes me think of what's it called? Into the Spider-Verse, which did the whole alternate realities thing while not relying on nostalgia, with an actual good story that had a payoff emotionally for every character at the end, while building up the character which we just met, Miles Morales, in a satisfying way, with no relying on any previous films. You know what I mean? Like I feel like this film was kind of trying to do that, but it had the easy way out because it had genuine nostalgia behind it. I feel like Into the Spider-Verse was a much superior film, visually, story-wise, characterization, like everything was just done better. However, I think a lot of people are still going to like this film, especially if you liked the other Tom Holland films. If you like Tom Holland, you're going to like this film, but I do feel like there's definitely an emotional trickery going on, which kind of, I don't know, it's, yeah, it's one of those things that I would recommend the film, but not for like genuine reasons, if that makes sense. I thought another thing that I find kind of annoying with these sort of movies, when you kind of bring characters, like you bring the characters from the other films, is the films they were in, each character got their own, each villain was there for a purpose, and they had a satisfying arc, with like great scenes kind of thing. Whereas in this, they didn't really. It kind of, I almost feel like it takes away from the films they were in. If you think about it, like it's like they've already had their thing. They've served their purpose story wise in the other films, and in this, they're like, oh, they're back again, and like it feels like a bit of a regression. Even though it is fun to see them again, it does. There is a sort of like a cheapness to it in a way. A little bit. It was a little. To me, there was too many scenes that felt too like tongue in cheek. Like everything was a joke. Like Tom Holland, when he asked like what's your name to Dr. Octopus, and Doc Ock goes Otto Octavius, and they laugh like no, what's your real name? Like there's just everything is not taken seriously, and I just find that kind of like, I guess people like it, but it just kind of like rubs me the wrong way. Like I'm like, why are you even watching this film if you're just going to take the piss out of it? Like it just feels, I don't know. It's just kind of, that's why I'm not a huge fan of these Marvel films at the moment. They're just too tongue in cheek. I also found Doctor Strange was. Everything was just a setup to get the nostalgia into the film, and that just, I don't know, it felt like it definitely feels like a product or something made by a committee where it has to hit these certain beats. Like Spider-Man's wearing, I think, 3 different costumes in the film, which to me felt like let's get 3 different toy lines on the shelf. Hot Toys is making 3 different figures from this film, and it just, that's why they had the different the different costumes, just stuff like that. And also like the fact that you've got Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, you can then sell toys of those characters, and people are going to buy them. So like, yeah, I don't know, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Like, and also it kind of makes me wonder, like towards like the sort of, I guess, comic book films in general. Although it's happening a lot in the movie industry, is a lot of like this forced nostalgia, and I'm like, it's cool like in the short term, like, oh cool, I remember that thing when I was a kid or whatever, but it's sort of like, is this a genuine, like, are you actually making a movie? Like, why don't you just make one of those TV specials where you get all the cast from previous seasons to come on TV and like talk about their experience? Like that's kind of what it feels like in a movie form. But do you know what I mean? Like if you're kind of using nostalgia to prop a film up, that's only going to last for like so long, and it just, I don't know, it just feels like it. Like for instance, Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3 with Tobey Maguire, great films. They still hold up. They didn't need anything else there. You just had Spider-Man and some villains and a great story. Whereas these films seem like they've got to have all these different characters, and they've always got to be building up some greater story that at the end of the day is just kind of, it's not that great. Like for instance, like I'm trying to, this is going to be hard to articulate into words, but basically in this film, Tom Holland, Spider-Man, learns a lesson, which Spider-Man from Spider-Man 1 learnt in the opening third of the film, like the bit where he lets the robber go, and then he ends up killing Uncle Ben. Like he learnt that from that, which shaped his character. You didn't need a whole movie exploring that, which I just feel like there's a lot of there's too much. They need to kind of dumb things down, like make things a bit more simple. It gets too complicated. Like this is like, you've got, the universe could be destroyed because of this mistake that he makes. Like there's too much. It's too and like you had like Charlie Cox, Daredevil turns up for like 30 seconds, and like everyone's like cheering and stuff in the theater, and you're like, yeah, but what did that, like that's cool and all, but like what did that add to the film? Like it didn't really add anything. It just feels kind of, I don't know, emotional trickery, I guess. Which, yeah, I don't know. It kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Um, yeah, but this film's going to review pretty well, I'd imagine. I think the audience seemed to love it. It just, yeah. Although I will admit, on a positive note, I know I've been talking a lot of negative stuff. Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield were great in it. I wanted to see, I really want to see them in another film, like on their own film. Like I'd love to see Spider-Man 4 with Tobey Maguire, or Amazing Spider-Man 3 with Andrew Garfield. Like they're just, in my opinion, just much better Spider-Man than Tom Holland. But and also it was good seeing Andrew Garfield in the suit, like it, because it's a real suit. It's not. They do this thing with Tom Holland where they love doing like a CGI Spider-Man, and I don't get it because they've done real suits before, and it just looks like, I'm always aware that it's a CGI suit, and it just bothers me. And I hate that tech suit that he wears. But yeah, it's that. Also, they did a there's a end credit scene with Venom, and again, like I actually liked Venom 2. I thought it was, for what it was like, I didn't like Venom 1, but Venom 2 was so kind of silly and straightforward that I kind of liked it, which is kind of weird. But so anyway, they've got Venom in this one, like as like an end credit scene, setting up the symbiote. I guess Tom Holland's going to get the symbiote suit, so they're setting that up. Only problem is, I think Tom Hardy won't be Venom in the MCU, which is kind of, feels like a missed opportunity. I could be wrong there, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking with that. But yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so what's the take-home message from this? If you liked Tom Holland Spider-Man, you'll probably like this film, but don't get tricked by try to separate the nostalgia and stuff from the actual film. Like, I think it's a pretty mediocre film, all things considered. But anyway, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Comment below. Tell me what you think. Am I wrong? I feel like a lot of people are actually going to be annoyed with this, with my take on this, but that's all right. Anyway, and I'll see you guys in the next video.